The injustice I felt for wrongfully being charged with a murder I did not commit was beyond my comprehension as a 14-year-old child. To have two adults as detectives sitting on the other side of a table saying to my father and I in an interview room in Balmain Police Station, New South Wales, "You are now being charged with murder" at 14 years of age, was absolutely astonishing, based on the only motive I had for going to that address that night was to steal marijuana plants from that house. That's the only motive. I had no intentions of harming anybody. I had no intentions of being with anybody that was going to harm anybody. I had no violent streak in me whatsoever to harm anybody in that way. And the next day, when I was pulled in for questioning, being told, "You are now being charged with that man's murder," I couldn't believe it. So I go to court and I refuse bail. I have to go to the Supreme Court. At the Supreme Court, 3 months later, the arresting officers made myself and my parents aware that they were going to make me out to be the worst street kid the suburb of Balmain had ever encountered, which was an absolute lie. Now, I'm not saying I was not a little bit of a wayward child, but for these detectives to tell myself and my parents that their motive when they go into that court is to make me out to be something so the court would see that they shouldn't give me bail was astonishing, again, to myself and my parents. My mother said, "Why are you telling us this? Why are you going to make him out to be like this?" "Oh, we have to do that, Jude, so the court sees that we can't give him bail. So we've got to make him out to be bad." And they did make me out to be bad, but I got bail. And when I got out, I was subjected to police pulling me over, calling me a murderer, kids at my school where I used to go to, Balmain High School, calling me a murderer. And I wasn't a murderer. I was telling the kids who was calling me a murderer, I'm not a murderer. I didn't kill that bloke. And when the coppers would pull me over and say, "Oh, where are you going, dude? And what are you doing? And why are you out this hour of the night? Where's your mates? You know, you got any knives on you? You're not going to kill anyone out here again, are you?" I go, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, you're a murderer." "I'm not a murderer." I was absolutely enraged at this injustice in my life. And I would hear people talk about me on the bus, like older people. They would see me when they'd get on the bus if I was going from, say, Balmain to Leichhardt, and they go, "Oh, there's Dean the murderer," and I'd go, "I'm not a fucking murderer." Like, I was just so angry that I was labelled a murderer at a young age of 14 years of age. And then I had to deal with what was in the paper. people saying, oh, we read about you in the paper how you went to that place that night and killed somebody. I didn't kill anybody. I was only there, and a person who was there with me got into a fight with this guy, and unfortunately he stabbed him. And that's all that happened. So I held on to that after they found me guilty, not of murder. I got found guilty of manslaughter. And what that means is that I knew that that guy that got murdered was going to have serious harm put to him that night. I didn't know he was going to have serious harm put to him that night. So I carried this resentment, this injustice, this having to put up with people alleging that I was something really bad, the embarrassment of it all, the humiliation of it all. Yeah, sure, I get that somebody lost their life, and I get that I went to that person's place to steal marijuana, but I didn't go there to kill him. I had no intentions of that. And I'm sad for that guy and his family that he lost his life. But the impact of the injustice that had on my life was phenomenal. I became a drug addict. I didn't like going out in public. I became paranoid. I was worried what people were thinking. I was angry. I was resentful. It was then I developed me against police full on, and me against institutions that I had to live in for 5 years when I got sentenced for it. So feeling that injustice of being charged with a murder had a ripple effect in my life that went on for years and years and years, until I was fortunate to hit a rehab. And that's when I psychologically had the opportunity to change myself. And I took advantage of that, and I did. I healed from all that pain, and I spoke about it, and I got in touch with it, and I did something about it, and I have never been back in trouble since. And that was 25 years ago. But I just wanted to share the injustice of the law working against somebody. I understand we need laws. I understand that without laws in our society, it would be anarchy. I get that. I get that, bad things happen to decent people in laws. Some people get the raw end of the prawn as far as law is concerned. I get that, and I understand the laws and criminal law is really important, that we need it to have a somewhat safe society. But there's an impact that has on a 14-year-old child being charged with a murder that he didn't commit. And more of this story is in my book, King Hit, all the W's King Hit book. But I just wanted to share my experience of living some of that. In the book, I go into it in more detail. So you have a good day now, and even with injustices, psychologically, you can get over it and move on and see it for what it is. It does happen to people. And I learned that I just had to suck that up and not to make that something as destructive in my life, where it really had an impact on me, and I had to heal from that and get clear of all that again. So we can heal out of injustices. Well, I did with professional help and talking about what I felt and what I experienced. So have a good day now, and you take care now. Look after yourself.